Hey, so I just want to speak and say that you know what? It doesn't matter how religious or spiritual a person is. It doesn't matter how much a person loves God. You know what I'm saying? Everybody reaches a breaking point. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the truth. Everybody, as an example, when you learn, how to be godly, you learn how to be Christian or spiritual or just everybody's trying to be the best person they can possibly be, in the sight of God, and just as a person or even, for your own consciousness sake. You know what I mean? Because majority of people do have a conscience. You know what I mean? But people really do push you to your limit. And honestly, there's people out there that purposely do these things. You know what I'm saying? So even though I'm a good person, it's like people, they want to do shit to you, right? But then they want to try to silence you in a way to where they want to make you do something that if you get online or you talk to anybody about it, that you embarrass yourself because you're too embarrassed or ashamed to say that something bad happened to you or something that someone did was messed up. Because then what ends up happening is, because say me, if I get online and I say, hey, so and so or this situation, not names, but a person or a situation happened to me was bad, just because I'm talking about it, it sounds like I'm the negative person because I'm the one that's talking about the negative situation, right? And so when it comes to society, nobody wants to hear about negativity being talked about, right? But it's in reality though, no matter how good and great you want life to be or people to be or situations to be, it's life itself in reality is gonna kick in at times to where, you have to be real about how you feel. You have to be real about reality. You can't just, read the Bible and say, God, Jesus loves you, God bless you, I'm going to pray for you. You know what I'm saying? That only goes so far. Or say, oh, love and light, love and light. It's at some point, people have to acknowledge that not everything in life is love and light. Some things are honestly hate and darkness. And that's the problem sometimes, is that there's not just love and light in the world. There's hate, there's jealousy, there's envy, there's darkness, there's opposition, there's gossip, there's slander, there's backstabbing, there's betrayal. And it's nobody wants to talk about that because of the fact that it's negative. You know what I mean? But the problem is everything's being swept under the rug because no one wants to talk about it and no one wants to hear about it. But it's we're fashioned to not put some people are fashioned to just act like it doesn't exist. And that's what I mean. It's I'm religious, but I'm also spiritual. And at the end of the day, anybody who's religious can't tell me that I can't be spiritual, and vice versa. Spiritual people can, don't all believe in religion, which again, I understand. But it's a free world. Everybody can feel and believe how they want to. You know what I mean? And do what's best for them. And that's when I feel you as a person reach a real level of growth and maturity, because you understand that as long as you put good intentions into the world and you're trying your best to love people in spite of how terrible people can be, as long as you're extending as much grace as you possibly can and not returning evil for evil, that's all God cares about. I can sit there all day and address the evil that I go through and the things that I go through from people, from family, from friends, everything. Why? Because it really does happen. And it's my truth. I'm allowed to speak it. You know what I'm saying? But I'll get on here and say, you know what? I'm a person of integrity. And even though people throw their BS at me, I will acknowledge the fact that it's happening, because I'm not going to lie to myself. You understand? I'm not going to lie to myself and act like something doesn't exist when it does. Because then at the end of the day, what happens to me is that I shut down. My heart begins to shut down. But one thing I will do, I'm going to acknowledge the truth within myself and to the world. But at the same time, thirdly, I'm not going to repay evil for evil. And guess what? That's the most important thing to God. I am not going to step below or step out of my high vibrational energy to come down onto someone else's level. Why? Because you know what? They don't deserve that. Obviously, if they're saying or doing the things that they're saying and doing, like, I have to check that within myself. Like, am I now stressing about the situation? Now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm worrying about it to the point where it's taken over. And it's like, I realize that whatever you put your mind to and that's what you're thinking about, that is what's taking over in your life. And that is what people want. That's what they want, is to take up all of your energy and use it for themselves, to where people want to suck you dry of your energy because they're miserable and they're not connected to God in a divine way, or they're not healed. So what they want to do is they want to find somebody who has that within themselves and make them feel like they don't have that. And that's why it's up to us. It's up to you to know that you have God inside of you. You know what I'm saying? It's up to you to know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, people are going to tell you who you are. And that's what I've learned. I'm not going to let how people treat me make me define how I look at myself, how I view myself. Just because you're trying to make me feel like I'm a terrible person that starts drama, that's toxic, because you have a problem with yourself, because you hate yourself, at the end of the day, you want to turn that all around on me. I've learned how to step outside the box. Instead of keeping myself in the situation, I realize this ain't got nothing to do with me, you know, but it takes a lot of growth and maturity and circumstances that you go through on a continual basis in order to understand that. I've had to really, you know what, assess how I'm feeling right now, the fact that I'm heated right now, the fact that someone's putting me in a situation. It's like they're literally pulling me into their chaos. Like, how did I become a part of this? Like, I realize I'm an outsider. I don't come around. I don't go around you. I ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. But somehow, now all of a sudden I'm the bad guy just because I show up and I'm around you for 2 or 3 hours. Now I'm leaving your side feeling like I'm the worst person on the planet because I made 1 or 2 mistakes, which was something that you really didn't like, but I don't know you very well to know what you like or don't like or whatever. But it's like, if you don't step back to assess the situation from the outside, you don't know. And so anyways, to make a long story short, is that everybody wants to hear good, positive, fluffy messages. And at the end of the day, that doesn't always help people. That's just the truth. People want to hear advice from people that have actually been through something, not people that are just going to get up there and say, oh, well, you need to put a smile on your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you need to smile through the pain, and I am all for that. I have done that my whole life, and I will continue to do that. I'll continue to be the best version of myself in spite of all the things that people throw at me. Do you understand? The devil can continue to throw shit at me and use people to do so, because it's been my whole life. But guess what? I'm going to continue to shine. I'm going to continue to smile. People don't know what I've gone through. Some people know my story, some people don't. But at the end of the day, I become a stronger, better person because of what I've been through, what I've been put through, and what I shouldn't have gone through. You know what I'm saying? Like, one day I am going to tell my full story, and it's heavy. Like, I haven't decided how I'm going to do it or when. That's up to God. But one thing I know is that's why I want to help people. I want to help people when they're discouraged. I want to lift people up, because you know what? That is what's important. Everyday life drains you. It drags you down. It pulls you down. It makes you feel less than. It makes you feel like I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean. I have fought those thoughts constantly, that I can't do this. This is not something that I can do. And when I feel that way in a situation, like, you know what? I can't do this. The moment you start feeling that opposition, that's when you question God. And you say, God, is this something that I'm even supposed to be doing or dealing with? Or do I need to pull the plug on the situation? Because if you're around anything and it's too hard to deal with, then maybe you shouldn't be dealing with it. But at the same time, there are things in life that God does want you to put the work in, and it is going to be a little difficult. You know what I'm saying? But there's a difference. There's a difference in walking through a dark tunnel and there being light at the end of the tunnel, and you know at some point you're going to see your way out because it's somewhere that God told you to go and what he's telling you to do. Like, as an example, when you go through the school registration process, yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, it gives you anxiety and all that, but you're fulfilling that purpose and you're going to finish it, and it's for a purpose, and then it's going to be done. But when you're dealing with people in situations that you're in a dark tunnel and you're doing the same thing over and over, and you're like, damn, this person's stubborn. They're not learning nothing. They keep treating me crappy. Like, they just keep acting the way they do and they don't want to change. And I'm not going to keep dealing with it. Like, you have to learn when you're on a repetitive cycle, to the point where you're like, you know what? I got to ask God, am I really supposed to be dealing with this right now? Because you know what? Like, I can't keep doing this. Like, at some point, it's like the grace and mercy of God, he lifts himself off the situation to where, like, if it becomes so hard and you don't have the strength to deal with it, maybe you're not supposed to be dealing with it. You know what I mean? And that's where people need to realize, like, you don't just take your hands off the wheel. You know what I mean? If you're dealing with a bunch of different things, you don't just decide for yourself that you're not going to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? You got to go to God about each and everything that you are dealing with individually per situation, you know, because you don't know. You don't know, like, is this a person I'm supposed to deal with or not? Go to God for each individual person. You know, don't just abandon everything, but read the energy. Read the person's energy. Know the person by their fruit. It says you will know them by their fruit. Do they have good fruit or bad fruit? You know what I'm saying? Is their tree rotten, or are they reaping any type of fruit whatsoever? Like, what is their past history? What have they done over 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? If every time you go around somebody and they're just, you know, giving you the cold shoulder, or they're just, making you feel like you're invisible, like they don't see you at all. The first time, okay. The second time, it's a little iffy. But then the third time you go around, you're like, wow, like you really don't see me. Okay, well, you know what? That's it. Like, at first I was like, oh, I don't really know. Then after that, you finally, you have to figure it out at some point. You know what I mean? But that's how it is with each situation and each relationship. At some point, you're like, damn, like, I'm not going to be friends with everybody. Everybody's not going to like me. And it's like, you go from this young, innocent mind to eventually learning reality. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was saying about, the love and light versus the darkness, is that there's darkness in the world. There's light in the world, and everybody sees things a completely different way, and you think everybody's gonna see things your way, and they don't. So then you have to deal with those harsh realities that not everyone is the same. Not all personalities click together, and some personalities clash, unfortunately. And that's why, sometimes you really do have to turn your back. You really do have to walk away from a situation that you thought was going to work out a certain way, and be heartbroken and feel like, wow, this sucks, because I imagine me loving this person forever. And it's not going to happen. And no matter how much you force it, it's just not going to happen. And it's hard because we want to miss those red flags. We want to miss the truth. The truth that's standing there right in our faces, you know? But there's reality, and what we need to do is deal with reality. We don't need to live in a fantasy of, you know, the coulda, shoulda, woulda, or what should be. We have to look at what's in front of us and pray to God for discernment in each and every situation that we're in. And when God speaks to you, you have to hear what he's saying in order to follow in the right direction. Because if not, you're just going to keep on a cycle that you've been going through forever, for too long. And then you ask God, well, why isn't things changing? Why am I not making progress? And it's because sometimes we're just not ready to take those steps forward. And that's another thing. In order to take steps forward into anything different, you got to step outside of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to try something different. You have to be willing to just be around different people. You can't keep yourself in the same environment, around the same people, doing the same things, having the same conversations, because it's not gonna, having a repetitive conversation with the same person, sometimes it just doesn't work. It's like, this is not gonna change. And then you tell yourself, you know what, why can't I just get this through my head that it's not gonna change? But you know what? There comes a season when you're actually ready to actually cut that thing off. Even if it's, and that's another thing, for me, I've learned that cutting off a person doesn't always mean that they're just permanently gone. It means that you got to put the fence up higher, to where instead of, being able to walk across easily, I'm going to look at you from above the fence and say hi. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Hi. And I'm going to walk away. I'm still acknowledging you. I'm still telling you I love you and everything. But that's about all I'm going to do. Hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, everything's good from over here. Yeah, I hope everything's good too. All right, see you later. That's it. But you don't realize that because, again, my parents didn't teach me that. I didn't know that I could just, avoid situations that I really don't feel comfortable dealing with. I was forced to deal with situations I was uncomfortable dealing with. If you don't want to deal with a situation because you're uncomfortable dealing with it, then just simply don't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Try to handle it in the most responsible way possible and in most respectful way possible of the person, but say, hey, our personalities don't click, or just simply, you know what, I'm grateful for the time that we had, but I gotta move on elsewhere. Have a good life. You know what I'm saying? Like that. But nobody wants to talk about those painful things. Nobody wants to talk about the things and situations that actually exist. Even the fact that I'm saying goodbye to my childhood friend that passed away. She didn't even turn 37 years old. And that was a shock. We have to deal with shocking real life situations that happen that are very disappointing and heartbreaking. But nevertheless, it doesn't change the fact that it's still happening and that it still needs to be acknowledged and dealt with. You still have to deal with it. And that's what makes it so hard when it comes to society at times, not wanting to let people talk about the real things that are happening, because people need to hear it. People need to see it. They need to understand that you're going to go through some real shit in life. It's not just going to be butterflies and rainbows. And that when shit pops up, as an example, you gotta deal with it. And there's gotta be people around that are gonna help you deal with it. It's not a problem that's just gonna go away. Certain things don't just go away. And so that's why I feel the need to speak out. To speak out about real things that actually exist. And it's because I've lived it. And I know there's people out there that are living day to day in hopeless situations that make them feel like they're going to break at any moment, or they can't go on You know, they need that encouragement that yes, you can make it. Yes, you can do it. I did it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I show up. I show up for people. Even if people don't show up for me, I have shown up time after time, day after day, hour after hour. I continue to show up because you know what? It's important to show up. You know what I'm saying? And stand up for those things in life that are important. And this is important because people are losing people in these hood streets. There's people dying. There's people passing away that shouldn't be passing away. And it's a real thing. It's so sad. It's so sad. And we just, even if we're there for each other through a screen, who cares? The point is like, Facebook has helped me. You know, YouTube has helped me. Yeah, it's the internet and it's virtual, but it doesn't matter. There's still someone that told me what I needed to hear when I needed to hear it. And it saved me. God used people and messages to save me and help me get to the next day. You know what I'm saying? That's all. We can't just sugarcoat everything. Sometimes we gotta be real. Life calls for us to at times just be real. No matter how good you wanna, sugarcoat it, it's still gonna be what it is. It's still what it is. But anyways, have a good day, guys.